Board meeting to order. First thing we'll do will be the pledge, led by Board Member Tiffany Johnson.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Join us in a moment of silence. Okay. Next will be approval of the agenda. Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approval of the consent agenda. Have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, no visitors. Number 7, ESL summer.
Yeah, these two contracts here, we're going to table those later in May. We'll work on some dates.
Okay. Move on to number 8 then.
All right, number 8 is the 2019-2020 Central Office Tenure Recommendation. The following certified employees meet the criteria for tenure in accordance with the new tenure law. They hold a valid Tennessee teaching license, served Rutherford County Schools 5 years within a 7-year period, and the last 2 in a regular, not interim position, as demonstrating an overall performance of above expectation or significantly above expectation on the team evaluation in the last 2 consecutive years of the 5-year period, or if held tenure under the previous guidelines and return to Rutherford County Schools and meet the 2-year probationary period and tenure is reactivated. Tenure status will become effective the first day of the 2020-2021 school year. Motion to approve the recommendation of the Director of Schools to award tenure to the teachers who meet the criteria for the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay. Have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 9.
All right, number 9 is the emergency resolution to suspend certain policies found on tab 3 due to the Tennessee State Board of Education passing emergency rules to accommodate necessary changes related to school closures. The board should adopt the resolution to suspend its policies that are contrary to the new state rules. The attached policy identifies each conflicted policy and proposes a solution to be in place through the end of the 2019-2020 school year. This resolution will expire at the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year, and the normal policies will again apply. I'm going to kind of go over the resolution, read the resolution, and go over each one of them.
Mr. Spurlock, your microphone's off. They've asked you to turn it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over these and read each one of them. Whereas TCA 49-203 authorized local boards of education to govern their prospective districts, including adopting, revising, and suspending local board policies. Whereas on April the 2nd, 2020, Governor Bill Lee signed Public Chapter 652, which removed the requirements for TCAP testing and allowed the State Board of Education to promulgate necessary rules to address issues created by COVID-19 in the 2019-2020 school year. Whereas April the 9th, 2020, the State Board of Education revived several rules and policies in response to the COVID-19 effectively only for the 2019-2020 school year. Whereas changes made by the State Board of Education conflict with certain local board policies. Now therefore be it resolved that the Rutherford County Board of Education hereby suspends the following policies or provisions of its policies for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year, including but not limited to those identified below, to the extent that they conflict with Public Chapter 652 or State Board of Education policies or rules and regulations for the 2019-2020 school year. 1, Policy 4.600, Grading System. A, students in grades 3 and 12 shall receive no grade lower than the grade they earned as of March 20th, 2020. Additionally, students taking post-secondary courses are not required to participate in the associated exam in order to receive the GPA weighting for the spring 2020. That's our quality points, extra points we get. Students in third quarter grade will be duplicated for the student's fourth quarter grade. Grades entered during the fourth quarter prior to March 20, 2020 can be used to increase the fourth quarter grade, but any such grade shall not lower the fourth quarter grade. Students may request to complete additional work to raise their fourth quarter grade. No additional grades shall lower the fourth quarter grade. C, second semester percentages shall be calculated as 50% of the third quarter grade plus 50% of the fourth quarter grade. Final grades will remain as first semester grades plus second semester grades. E, kindergarten through second grade, report cards will reflect progress under each standard as of March 20, 2020. Any standards not taught as of March 20, 2020 will be marked NT, not taught, on the report card. The director of schools shall have the authority to designate middle school elective courses less than one semester in length as pass-fail courses as necessary. Policy 4.604, credit for prior courses. Students taking a course in middle school for high school credit must receive a pass in the class to obtain credit. An examination shall not be required. 3, Policy 4.605, graduation requirements. For the class of 2020, graduation requirements are modified as follows. Only 20 credits are required to graduate per State Board Rule 0520-01-03.11. And those classes will include your 4 Englishes, your 4 maths, your 3 science, and your 2 social studies. Only 20 credits are required to graduate. I've already said that. The requirements are as follows. In C1, the ACT, SAT, the 2, the civics exam, 3, the EOC exams. Students scheduled to receive, all these are being waived. Students scheduled to receive an occupational diploma in the 2019-2020 or the 2020-21 school year shall be only required to demonstrate 1 year of work experience. Policy 4.700, testing program. 4A says students shall not be required to take the TCAP exams for the spring semester of 2020. 5, Policy 5.109, evaluations. Level of overall effective scores shall not be generated for educators in the 2019-2020 school year. 5B, pre-kindergarten and kindergarten teachers shall not be evaluated using the growth portfolio model for the 2019-2020 school year. Any observations required by the State Board Policy 5.201 that were not completed during the 2019-20 school year as a result of COVID-19 are not required. No student data from this year shall be allowed to negatively impact a teacher. 6, Policy 5.802, qualifications, duties of the Director of Schools. A, the Director of Schools may request an extension from the State Board of Education to report information that would impact educator license, alleged employee misconduct, discipline of employees for actions that violate the Teacher Code of Ethics. 7, 6.200, attendance. Students may not be penalized for non-attendance of online courses. B, non-attendance of online courses shall not be counted as unexcused absences and shall not be recorded. Further, students shall not be counted truant for failure to attend online courses. Be it further resolved that the Director of Schools shall consult with the board as feasible and appropriate and shall timely report to the board regarding implementation of the board policies in alignment with Public Chapter 1652 and updated state board policies and rules and regulations. Be it further resolved that Director of Schools will consult with the board if he or she determines that additional policies or provisions of policies not contained in this resolution are found to be in conflict with current state board rules and policies. Be it further resolved that the Director of Schools may apply for any waiver or an extension that ensures consistency with the resolution of board policies and Public Chapter 652 or the State Board Education policies or rules and regulations implemented effectively Public Chapter 652. Be it further resolved that the Director of Schools shall inform the board of any waiver or extension requests made pursuant of this resolution. Be it further resolved that the execution of this resolution is conclusive evidence of the board's approval of this action and the authority granted herein. I guess before we get to a motion, is there any questions over any of these requested alignment with the State Board and the General Assembly's actions that were taken?
Let me apologize for the question before I even ask it. But I want to make absolutely sure that I understand it, and I had a call on this week, and I just want to make sure we're clear. A student is failing a course in March, when was it, March 15th? Was that the last day?
I think it was
17th last day? Okay, and they probably know that when they walked out of the building expecting to come back, and they didn't come back.
Right.
Now, and we've made, I want to make sure I'm right, we have offered them opportunities.
Absolutely.
Pull that grade up, and any work and contract the teacher or our online course, and any work that they have done would not lower their grade, but it could improve their grade.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, does that, I'm hoping that this is the way it is, does that fall back on the teacher just like it normally would?
Yes, sir.
All I need to know. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. And to Mr. Jordan's point, it says here that students on item 1B, second item, students may request to complete additional work to raise their fourth quarter grade. They may request, but I've had some calls from some students and some parents who have concerns about a similar situation, that our teachers required then to help those students lift those grades up?
That's the LEA's option.
Okay.
We have that option. It's not a requirement, but we encourage. I think what our thing is, if we want to continue to provide instruction as best possible, but that is an option. It's not a requirement.
Okay.
And I will say that most of our teachers are doing this, especially if it's a borderline situation. Now, obviously, if I came with a grade less than 50, I mean, it would be kind of fruitless to try to raise a grade. Yeah.
The concern I've heard has come from more of the high school, the juniors and seniors, as they start to panic towards the end of their time
I heard
in
that
school.
too.
Some of these more tougher classes, particularly like statistics and whatnot. So some of them aren't being afforded that. So that's up to the school itself then.
Well, what we try to encourage them, we never came down with a requirement, but we encouraged. I feel like if a student is wanting to raise their GPA, we've encouraged that.
Okay.
If a student is a borderline, in fact, I had some students reach out to me through email from Siegel, and this was prior to this being approved on April 9th, and somehow between the conversation that they had with the teacher, they misunderstood and they cleared that up. But they were, I don't think anyone whose grade was significantly low took that option. However, I do know those that were on the borderline and those that wanted to raise their GPA were afforded that opportunity.
Okay. I appreciate it. I personally, with students in the system, most all teachers have reached out and communicated with us and offered that, but some families have inquired. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard the answer to this, but just to clarify again, because the parent that had reached out to me specifically about the child who had already taken a fourth quarter grade that was extremely high, that was going to pull his entire grade up in that course. That policy allows for that to happen. Did I hear that correctly?
They don't have to, do any more graded work.
No, I understand that, but to his point.
If it was a high, yeah, if it was a high grade, then they're both, then the average of both the third and fourth quarter would be.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, let me go ahead and read this motion. All right, motion to adopt the resolution for the suspension of the policies as presented.
We have a motion? Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 10.
All right, number 10 is, just to give you a breakdown on what we're looking at. What we looked at in terms of trying to, we know we've been out, we'll have been out 21 weeks prior to us opening school. We know that there's a lot we have to get accomplished during that time. We know we have 180 days of instruction, and what we wanted to do is kind of give as much full days as possible. So what we did is we went back and we looked at our schedule, and if anyone has a calendar, you can follow me. Do you have a calendar, Dr. Sullivan?
Tab 4.
All right. On August August and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, August the 7th, that's a full day. First full day. Now, the next one that we're requesting to change is on September the 17th. Back up 1 minute. Let's go back to August the 6th. August the 6th was built in as an in-service, day 2. That no longer will be it actually will be an in-service day. However, we're going to be adding something else in there. It's going to be voting. So it's going to be an in-service day, but we won't have the kids. So therefore, we're adding voting there. As I understand it, it's going to be some of our primary votes for our federal officials and state and local officials, and obviously school board voting, I think, takes place on that day. But that will still be an in-service day, but however, we'll be adding voting into that. All right, the next day that's going to be modified is on September the 17th. That is an early dismissal day, 3 hours and 15 minutes. Normally what we do then is PLC, or we do some kind of PD. They still count that as a full day, but we're actually going to make that a full instructional day on Thursday, September the 17th. That will be a full instructional day. Okay. All right, moving on down to October the 20th. We're taking that in-service day out there, and we're adding that into a full instructional day. Okay. So moving on down to Thursday, March the 11th. That's currently a dismissal at 3 hour and 15-minute day, which we actually get counted as a full day. However, we're going to keep that in a full instructional day. Okay. I don't think, and you correct me, Dr. Sullivan, that we may have had one more change. Hold on. No, I don't see any other changes. Do you see any?
The only other change that I would add is the only abbreviated day that we have that used to be our 2 hour days is that very last Thursday, May 27th. Right. What used to be the 2 hour day in December and then in August are actually full days now.
Let me give you a little brief synopsis on that 2 hour day. One of the things that, and I get with the parents and stuff like that, bringing them in for 2 hours and, not, giving, it makes it very challenging for them. And it also gives us a time to get with our students, and sometimes, believe this or not, but textbooks are missing, things of that nature that we need to recover. And this gives an opportunity for them to kind of close everything out and make sure that everything that we've assigned to them has been accounted. All right, any questions on those dates that we're requesting to be modified?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be very clear. So we're eliminating half-days and 2-hour days, essentially. That's what we're accomplishing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You've made a lot of parents happy.
Well, like I said, I thought it has been strenuous, and one of the things what we were looking at doing with those is to do some more professional development with our teachers. But one of the things that some of my instructional department have talked to me here recently, and coordinators, is they like this online PD. And we're going to be building on that platform. One of the things that's in our budget is we're starting to increase a little more online things. When it passes, when it passes, and we think this is probably something that's going to prepare us for things that we're currently experiencing. And the more that we can build capacity with online and engage kids in doing things online, the more prepared we'll be in the event that something would occur. So the recommend motion to approve the revised 2020-21 Rutherford County School Calendar, and the breakdown is presented.
Okay, have a motion?
Since I hate those half-days, let me make this motion. Please, let's approve this.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right,
All right.
graduation dates. Now, before you get started, could I say something?
Yes.
Okay. I want to tell the parents out there that I don't believe there's anybody on this board that would not want to see our seniors walk with an audience in front of them. We would love to see that. And I think our principals have come up with a very good plan. They want to hold off till as late as possible so we could possibly have parents and family in the stands. I'm hoping that CDC will allow us to do that in it'll be 2 months from right about now. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Spurlock's going to tell us what the principals come up with, and the board didn't come up with these plans. We never come up with graduation plans. The schools do that, and we've always supported them, and I'm sure they will do right by everyone possible. Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Spurlock.
Well, just to add on to what Mr. Estes said, this is a challenge. I mean, let's be honest. This was not a decision that was made very easily, or these choices. We did convert. I also conferred with our local health department in terms of if we try to do them in May, what that would look like. Obviously, things change over time. So what we did is we talked to our principals, we discussed various things. The state did send us some different things. One of the things that, I talked to a lot of current and local school districts, and most of them are doing something similar to we are in terms of the offerings. But what we have here is in the first column, you have the schools, and then you have the date of the first option. Those start on May 26th. You can see that there's no rhyme or reason. We allowed them to choose if it was 3 schools having it at the same time. The only caveat there is that under the guidelines of the CDC, it would be very challenging to have those that early. And our thing was we would provide a virtual online of the commencement ceremonies. And then we came back with an alternative day a little bit later on. Once again, the locations of some perhaps changed, some did not change at all. And these are in late June, and with the option of holding them on their campus. Now, I saw someone sent me something about why not ask MTSU. Well, first of all, MTSU is closed through May. And then through further notice. I do know they're going to be opening up in fall. However, there's no way they're going to allow us on their campus. Now, one of the other things we have to be very clear about is the liability. Any decision that we make, or I guess as you guys make as a board, have to be very careful in terms of are we following CDC guidelines? Are we doing anything that may create issues that we probably need to stay away from? So we have two options here. We have the early option, that is, and by the way, both of them will be streamed. I did not put anything about how many tickets are being given out or anything like that. I think that would be nonsensical on my part because I don't have a crystal ball to be able to tell you what it's going to look like in June. However, I can tell you that I think that they should be able to have participants. We've actually even measured the size of some of our stadiums. We know currently we're about 5,500.
Depending on the age of the school, somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000 at capacity. So we wouldn't figure them at capacity. If you use the current 6-foot social distancing rule between people, that equates to about 4 people per 6 feet, so you would lose 3 of those. So if it was 5,500, you'd be looking at 1,375. However, that's using every row. And to meet the 6-foot guidelines, you would probably end up having to use every other row, which that cuts that number in half. So it gets, depending upon where we are in the COVID social distancing part of it's going to kind of determine at that time. So I think you're correct. The longer they wait, the more options they're going to have.
There are also opportunities around our stadiums where there are additional, we could put some additional seating and things of that nature. Your choices are option 1, early, no attendance by other than the graduates and the school officials, streaming it at every school online, or the late in June with the option of following CDC guidelines. That's the only way I would say we would have to vote on a motion, because if we did anything else, we would just be guessing at it. With this occurring on their campus, following CDC guidelines. All right, motion to approve either option 1 for the dates and times and locations for the 2020 high school graduation ceremonies, or option 2.
Any discussion?
So I do have a couple of questions because I completely support whatever option we can come up with that will allow the parents and the siblings and the grandparents to be there if at all possible. So I'm not particularly in favor of option 1 at all. However, that being said, I know that I have, and I know Ms. Johnson had mentioned she had, so I'm assuming the rest of you have heard from at least a handful of parents who have kids that are graduating this year that are going into the military immediately after graduation. So can we do something special for them?
Ms. Sharp contacted me earlier today about that. Every principal has, for those that are graduating and going to the military, will have a ceremony for them, something kind of more intimate, if you will. And they will also be acknowledging them at the regular ceremony.
Are they going to do that by school, or are we going to combine them? I guess I was kind of curious how many there were actually system-wide.
To be honest with you, I don't think there's a huge amount. I think it would be more, more special if it was at their school with their people there along with the principal.
All right. Well, I'm grateful to know that we're taking care of them. So unless there's any other discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion then that we select the second option, to push it back later and allow, hopefully, based on how things go between now and then, to allow attendance, family attendance, certainly at the very least.
I probably need to read this into that motion. I apologize. All right, either option 1 or option 2 for the dates, times, and locations recommended for the 2020 high school graduation ceremonies for Rutherford County Schools and following the guidelines of the CDC.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Okay?
So as we make a decision today, obviously, when will we revisit this, or will we revisit this? Will it be brought back to us as a board, so we'll just kind of read
Well,
about it?
when you get into July, you get into too awful hot weather, somebody be sitting in the stands. Hopefully in June, we can have somebody there. Plus, is it the first week in July? There's vacation at central office, is that correct?
No, we don't.
We don't do that?
anymore.
Oh, it's not done anymore,
Well,
huh? Y'all just gone all the time anyway, right?
my question is more specifically, so say we get into, the end of May, or it doesn't look like option 2 is feasible for the end of June, which is what the schedule says. Will we then revert back to option 1?
And I know exactly what you're saying. If, for any reason, and we'll be following this along, that anything looks like it's going to be problematic for June, then we'll come back. I will personally come back and put it on to discuss.
Okay, that was my question. So we're not just going to
No,
vote
no,
on
no,
this
right
and
there,
then
that's-
not know where we're
Now,
at?
the only thing that makes it challenging for everyone is if we are a go in June, you've got plans, people coming in and things of that nature. So as we follow along, we'll be tracking this very carefully, as we go from phase 1 to phase 2. Now, as I'm reading that, and it could be, and quite frankly, I think that can change over time, but they're looking at 3 weeks at a time in these phases. So somewhere in between this thing, somewhere in May, we should know something in terms of where are we,
Okay. Another question would be, full disclosure, my daughter is a senior this year and will be graduating Riverdale. So this is I hear from a lot of families and a lot of people, it's important to me to have as traditional for all of our students, whether my kid was graduating or not. With option 2, are we going to do everything we can to make it, or whatever it turns out to be, that as traditional without being at MTSU as possible? So will us board members be there to support our students? Will teachers be there? How are we looking?
Yeah, once again, I can see faculty and staff being there and perhaps board members being invited, but once again, it has to go back to the CDC guidelines.
Sure.
Because, the more, there's not many of us, 8 of us, but, that could be something, that we're taking a seat or something from some other individual.
I'm just looking for best case
Yeah.
scenario. So everything
Best
goes
case
as we want it
scenario
to.
that, the best case scenario, we're not going to MTSU this year, but we're going to be on our campus. Each one of our principals have been very, very good to work with. And I'll be honest with you, and they're doing a variety of different things. They're going to add, each one of them have their own plans. It's not going to look the same everywhere. We got one school that's got a big video board, and things of that nature. So, but it will be the best that they can provide for the graduating class of 2020 and making it memorable for them.
I had the privilege last year of attending many of the graduations, and even though they were all at MTSU, each school had its own personality, its culture showed bright. So I look forward to being able, as a board member, to attend if we're able to, and see how that happens on their home field. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate the clarification.
Anyone else?
I like, the reason that if we're going to have a motion, we haven't had a motion yet, have we? Have we had a motion? It's option 2?
Option 2.
Okay. The reason I'm going to vote for option 2 is because, and Ms. Moore expressed it pretty well, I definitely want the parents to be able to come if at all possible. And just reminds you of a couple of things here real quick, just so the public knows that we know. And Mr. Lee's already made this point. If we're allowed to we don't have to do the social distancing, we can get perhaps 5,500 if we set up chairs on the track for the graduates. We maybe could get 5,500. That would be absolute packed to the rafters. They don't have rafters, but packed to the top, okay? But our crowds, as we all know here in this room, are much bigger than that at Middle. And that brings us to the next point, and that is that the schools who are in charge of this are going to have to decide somehow who gets in and who doesn't. And they're going to have to do that without the students being on campus for them to call down to the office and talk to them about it, because they're not there. So it's a huge burden on our schools, but I think that option 2 is our best of 2 choices, and there are no good choices. There's not one that I know of.
Is that a second?
That's a second. I thought we had a second. That's a second, yes. I didn't realize it, but it is.
Mr. Chairman, we might also want to consider, since we're live streaming, maybe do social distancing in their auditoriums at the same time. So that would give us some.
Good idea.
That would give us some more capacity, perhaps maybe for the grandparents, because it would be cooler or something like that. So they would be there, but, you know,
I like that, maybe not a jumbotron.
maybe not on the field.
A lot of our gyms do have those video boards. That's a great idea.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, we got a motion and a second on option 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, insurance update.
You have in front of you just the financials for what was handed out at the recent insurance committee meeting. Basically, it's just a very, very quick summary. The first page, you see a calendar period and a fiscal year period, year-to-date, revenue versus expenses. The current trend, as you can see on the fiscal year period, year-to-date for the health insurance fund is continuing. You see on the second column, second layer down, you see revenues and expenses, with expenses year-to-date outpacing the revenues. Thus, of course, was the discussion of an additional increase for the employees and also the employer contribution for next year. Second page is, of course, the detail supporting that graph for Fund 264, the health insurance fund. Moving on the third page, we have a graph for the Fund 266, the work injury fund performance. We can see the year-over-year paid claims through March of this year compared to the prior year, which those are up in March, but as noted on the bottom of this page, the schools closed on March 15th through the end of the year, with county offices at the courthouse closing for coronavirus April 2nd through the 30th. So we should see an obvious drop in these claims, I would assume, for the month of April when the insurance committee comes together again. Next page is the detail of that graph. Moving on, we have the recent OSHA report for March showing the types of accidents that was reported in the county departments, including the schools, for the month of March. Below that is the accident frequency calendar year to date, showing to date there's 47 accidents that have been reported, and to the right showing the OSHA log of the 32 recorded injuries. All right. Below that is the restricted day claims, the 20 restricted day claims incidents, with the total length of those 20 claims of 553 days, with an average of restricted days per claim of 27.7. Well, that's showing lost day claims, average number of lost days per claim being 18.7, and then 6 other recordables.
Valerie? This social log is representative of the whole county, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's going to have a breakout here in the next page, but you're correct, ma'am. I apologize, I should have made note of that before we went to. Next page, it shows a graph of on-the-job injuries year to date. It has a comparison of the last 3 years. And as you can see, we had a drop of the actual on-the-job injury claims as of year to date for 2020 at the end of March. There was 47 on-the-job injury claims as compared to 51 in 2019 and 67 in 2018. However, on the next page, it shows the on-the-job injury incurred dollar amount of those claims on that page, showing the trend of the $223,000 year to date for on-the-job injury claims in 2018, dropping 2019 to 104, and then increasing, though we had less claims to date this year. The actual cost of those injuries increased slightly to $127,000. And then the last page shows a breakdown of the monthly claims of on-the-job injuries. It shows the breakdown of the cause of the injury, plus it gives a breakdown of the Board of Education with 7, County General with 2, and the Highway Department with 0, and it further breaks down County General to those 2 injuries for workplace injuries being in the Sheriff Department. And like I said, I suspect our next month meeting will show significantly less claims, and that's probably going forward through the end of the fiscal year until next school year.
Okay. Mr. Bowder, anybody got any questions on that?
I got one question here. Doug, if we look at how this is trending, comparing revenue to expenditures, there's about a $44,000 savings, is what I'm seeing here.
On the workers' comp,
If you go back to this page here where you're showing revenues versus expenditures for this year,
sir,
the one I have a hard time reading.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about Fund 266, the workers' comp, the one with the purple. Or, I'm sorry, I've got the
264, is it? Mr. Young, you talking about
264.
Yeah, let's see here. I don't see any numbers here to reference to. Yeah, that's the workers' comp. Revenue is 131,699.19, and expenditures so far is 87,591.60, showing about a 44,107.59 savings, or being under. But my question is there any way we could take that money there and apply it toward health insurance premiums if we have a savings here?
We budgeted for, now for this fiscal year, and you're saying is, once I did liquidate a purchase order today in the cafeteria fund for some workers' comp, since we're paid to date, and like I said, what we don't actually utilize, and it's noted on this, is there's a reserve that, if we overpaid the self-insured claims for workers' comp, then we don't just lose that money. It is banked for the Board of Education for future claims, so then we can have, more of an even payment should we have a large claim. I'm not coming to you right then asking for a budget amendment for additional workers' comp. But as far as taking some of this savings and looking at a medical insurance to move it in the future, let me look at that, and definitely I'll get back with you if that's what you want me to look at, sir.
Yeah, I was just curious if that could be done, because we already know we're getting an increase on health insurance.
Yes, sir.
And
During the
employees are going to incur a lot of that cost. Of course, we're going to incur our part too. But if our employees end up not getting much of a raise, which I see it very likely that could happen, then if we could use something like this to help offset the health insurance premiums, I'd like to see us entertain that.
I'll definitely look into it, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, director's update.
You know, we went to Health and Ed the other night. Appreciate Mr. Jordan being there. You know, it was what it was, but I appreciate what Doug and Mr. Lee were able to do. I think right now, the fear of the unknown, I think that's pretty common that's taking place. We'll be going to Budget and Finance, and then on May the 26th, we'll be coming back in here. Mr. Boulder and I have looked at the budget now, and we know that we're 19 million upside down, a little over 19 million upside down. That's a lot of money. We'll probably, you know, he talked about the raise. There's a strong possibility the governor will, you know, that won't be happening. And if that happens, I think there's some, you know, I think we can get down a little bit lower than that. You know, right now, I don't see the operational part of it. You know, we're adding over 1,000 students every year. And it was kind of ironic when we looked at the growth of the budget from 2018, 19 to 2019, 2019-20 to 2021, it was a 2.4% increase, which was actually the same as our enrollment increase. So that was, I mean, that's pretty telling right there. As we go to Budget and Finance, we are highlighting, you know, and when we'll highlight like we did at Health and Ed, the savings and the increases and the justification of the increases. You know, I think one of the things that as we look at all of this is that, you know, as you add more people, add more teachers, and add more students, then it's going to increase. You know, your budget's going to increase. I don't think that there was anything that was out of line with that budget, and I still don't think there's anything out of line with the budget. Now, as far as Fund 177, I'm concerned. I thought Mr. Lee handled it pretty well. He got up there and said, all right, you tell us what you're going to give us. Now, of course, we got the same thing back, and I understand what they were saying. I can't tell you that until we get some more further information on our local sales tax. And that probably won't roll in anytime until they'll probably be able to project it at sometime in early June. I'm not sure. I hold out hope that we will be getting the same amount. However, I'm not sure about that. I'm definitely not. I think Mr. Lee's smiling. He's very unsure that we won't. But what we have to do is, you know, as we look at these things, we give a justification of it. And at the same time, the school board provides that budget, and the commission is tasked with the responsibility of either funding it or not funding it. But they do not determine what's in the budget, nor do they, you know, create the budget. So we're standing on that. The biggest concern, I think, Mr. Boulder would tell you the same thing, is going into the ending fund balance like we have. You know, that's pretty tall task.
That it?
That's it.
All right, Ms. Johnson?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Ms. Sharp, Federal?
Nothing this evening, but if I may, I watched the Health and Ed. There was some discussion about board members being included in that insurance. And as far as I know, I don't know that any of us are included in the insurance that the school offers. So.
Mr. Boulder, you had the answer to that?
Yes, sir. I had the answer promptly as soon as I climbed back in my car after that meeting. It was that is all the retiree health insurance that's for the Board of Education, and that increase, of course, was some retirees and teachers, you know, teachers coming on to the retirement. So we were budgeting, of course, for that increase. But you're correct, ma'am.
And I wanted them to know that we don't have insurance, and we
No,
don't
ma'am,
take
you're
advantage of that
correct.
insurance, and y'all don't pay it. So just wanted to clear that up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, general discussion? Anybody got anything? Okay. No general discussion, we're adjourned.